Hi, everybody, and welcome to WrestlingNewsCo's new weekly live Raw post-show review. And I'm joined by my co-host Paul, but I'm Kelsi, and we're going to be here almost every week. I'm going to be here every week for sure. Paul may or may not be here some weeks. We'll have to see.
Yep, we co-host Two Face Wrestling Talk, which you can now also watch on WrestlingNewsCo's YouTube channel. And we hope you'll check that out. We discuss all things AEW, NXT, New Japan, and of course WWE. But this is going to be all about Raw. And like she said, some weeks I will be here, but mostly this is a show that she is hosting that you guys can interact with her about Raw.
Yep, and actually, we'll also be going live after AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, so please check that out as well when Wednesday comes around. That should be a lot of fun. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk Raw. Let's talk WWE. Now, I gotta say, I'll be honest here. I haven't watched Raw live in a really, really, really long time. You know, usually I catch the highlights or you watch the whole thing and let me know what's going on, and then I'll catch like the parts that I want to see. But this week I watched it front to back live, and I gotta say, man, it was kind of difficult to watch because I felt like it was 75% talking, which just was tiring in a way.
Yeah, look, I'm the one that kind of defends WWE. When people were talking about how bad Raw had gotten, I was like, well, there's still good matches in there. Tonight didn't even have that. It had basically two good matches, the main event and the match between Charlotte and the Kabuki Warriors. I thought this was one of the worst Raws of the year, in my opinion. I mean, it was just a lot of talking and a lot of nonsense. And considering there's a pay-per-view in less than 2 weeks, they're not exactly building much in the way of storyline so far.
You know, I got to say, that makes me feel better because you're more the fair one on WWE. I can be hard on them, but I do praise them quite often when they deserve it. In fact, like on our latest podcast episode, I really praised Survivor Series and I praised, of course, NXT TakeOver War Games because I loved those shows and I thought that it was really good. And even SmackDown this past Friday wasn't so bad because I also watched that live. But this episode of Raw just did not do it for me. I mean, if I had to grade it, I mean, maybe a D.
Yeah.
C- at best.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the last match with Carrillo and Mysterio and Ricochet against the OC was pretty good. Charlotte and the Kabuki Warriors was pretty good. A lot of squash matches, which I'm not opposed to having some squash matches, but you've got to have at least one really good match in every hour, and then you can mix in some squash matches. But it was so much talking.
It really, really was. And I mean, you said the two matches right there. That's like the two longest matches on the entire show.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Because every other match barely existed. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a few short matches, but like when you've got a 3-hour show, you've got the time to have a couple, not just two, a few longer matches that have some meaning, that have some story behind them. And also, don't forget, there's a TLC pay-per-view coming down down the road. Did they build anything to that? I don't recall much being done to kind of get us to that point where we're ramping up for the show.
Right, I agree. Glad some of our friends are joining. Dave Pozevsky says this Raw was meh.
Yeah.
And Bubble Boy 02 says hi, and we say hi as well.
Thanks for watching, and thank you all who are tuning in right now to join us talking Raw after the show is over live. We're live, pal. But I gotta say, I want to be more positive. I really do. I feel like, man, my first Raw review and I'm being like kind of negative. And this isn't traditionally, I'm not just negative to be negative. Usually I'm very, very fair about stuff like I said, but this time it just doesn't warrant the positivity. And we can even go from the beginning to the end and like talk about the specifics here. We've got more people joining us. Thank you all. We've got John in the chat saying hello. Hello, John. And let's get into the show from the beginning. So we've got AOP arriving at the very beginning in a car to open up with everything. Charlie asked them, what's going on? And they answer in another language. And then she goes, I don't speak your language. Can you translate for me? And he's like, you look lovely tonight, Charlie. And they walk off and she's like, okay. So already a weird opening to Raw, kind of nonsensical. Doesn't really make much sense. But then we get something good that happened on the show. Samoa Joe is on commentary.
Yeah, Samoa Joe is great on commentary. He's definitely got a career in that if he wants to go in that direction. Before we continue on, a few comments and questions. Noah Ira says, I fell asleep. What happened? Bubba Boy says 1 women's match in 3 hours. That's actually a good point as well. And was there any pop for the NASCAR 24/7 win?
It didn't feel like there was a pop.
No, there really wasn't a big pop, I didn't think. And you knew it was coming. And, I've said I'm over the 24/7 thing. It's just, it was funny to incorporate Kyle Busch and Michael Waltrip into it, I guess.
But I don't think a lot of people know who they are.
No.
Because I don't think NASCAR is the biggest sport.
Well, that's why they did it in Nashville, because, in the South,
popular.
Yeah, Bristol, Tennessee is one of the biggest, NASCAR's tracks. So I don't know. I think there was a little pop, but I don't think anybody got overly excited about it, because I just don't think there's that much excitement around the 24/7. You mix in a surprise or two every now and then, and I guess that's what makes it funny. But I'm just tired of watching guys chasing guys around their building.
I think some people really like the 24/7 title and that it's unique and different, and it started a really fun and funny thing. But to me, it's gone on a really long time. And sometimes when you've got people who are not even in the promotion winning the title, it's funny. And I guess in a way it could be some good promotion outside of WWE, but at the same time, what does it really do for everyone involved?
Well, and
I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing.
Bear in mind, it's a cross promotion thing, because NASCAR is on NBC. Of course, this is, USA is an NBC Universal. So there's that cross promotion of it. Just like when Rob Stone of Fox Sports won it when R-Truth was in studio or whatever. So I think part of it is cross promotional. But look, when I've said this before, and if you haven't heard me say this, when the 24/7 belt came out, I kind of liked the idea that I thought it was going to be this champion's just going to bounce around every show, and the belt would be, up for grabs any show. I wasn't quite anticipating what it's become, and it's just goofy.
It is a little goofy, and I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, especially it's not your cup of tea. I know that for sure.
Well, yeah.
But let's get back into that. Happened later in the show. Let's go into the beginning of the show. And after we found out Samoa Joe was on commentary, which was a pleasant surprise, then we go in and we see Rollins basically coming out and doing his, quote, apology. And I got to say, it was really cheesy, but I'm thinking that it's going to set up something more. However, when Rollins was in the ring in this beginning segment, I really was already thinking ahead, okay, well, he's apologizing and being really corny right now, but he's got to come in at the very end of the show, and then we find out that he's truly heel now.
Right.
But that didn't happen. Spoiler alert, that did not happen at the end of the show. We had some other, quote, surprise at the end of the show that really wasn't that big of a surprise. But back to the beginning, Rollins apologizing and saying maybe he was too harsh, but it was coming from his heart when he was insulting people last week, basically berating them for not doing good enough in Survivor Series. And then he was saying that he takes his responsibility as leader really seriously, but yet he leaves at 9:30 in the middle of the show while Charlie's interviewing him. But as he's apologizing, he also says, everyone in the locker room's my family, and I want to apologize to this person, that person, and most especially I want to apologize to Kevin Owens. Please come down here so I can apologize to you face to face and man to man. Then Kevin Owens comes down and he's not buying it at all. And this is what I like about Kevin Owens, because Owens could just buy into it and be kind of like a silly, dumb dumb baby face and just kind of become the sucker.
Right.
But he wasn't having it at all. And he's like, no, you're working with AOP last week. You're saying that they're your family. Maybe you're very close with AOP then. Maybe they're part of your close family and stuff like that. So Seth Rollins denies it, though, of course.
Right.
And then AOP comes down and they're trying to challenge Rollins and Kevin Owens. And Rollins is like, let's go, man. I'm good if you're good. And then Owens like, no. Much like usually Rollins says, no. But it was coming from Rollins. He says, no, I'm not buying into this. I'm not going to get suckered in. You're going to do a 3-on-1 on me.
Right. You're going to beat me up. So let's do it.
Yeah. So he was all ready to go, but Rollins just left and AOP let him walk past when he was going up the ramp. They didn't stop him. They parted ways and come on, man, just walk past them. So I don't know what all this means, but obviously there is something going on with Rollins that I think's fishy. And someone in our chat said the same thing.
Yeah, and someone also just said the KO is fantastic, and he really is. He's one of the best in the business. I mean, his on mic thing at Starrcade last night was fantastic too.
Oh my God, hashtag talking. Just the best part of the Lana stuff so far has been last night at Starrcade and tonight Owens insults to Lana and Lashley. Just saying, like, one of the things he insulted Lana with tonight was, you know, I've never known someone who talks so much but says so little. And he literally called her repulsive on the inside. I love that. Like, the word repulsive is such a strong word, but it's so accurate in her case because, like, this whole scenario is so ridiculous. But it's actually working because people are chanting for Rusev somehow. So it's like this stupid angle that I've hated all along is actually kind of working in Rusev's favor because it's getting him even more over, making him more relevant again. And people are cheering when bad things happen to Lana and Lashley, which is what you're supposed to do because they're the bad guys in this situation.
Yes.
But back up, why are we talking about Lana and Lashley and Owens? Well, because Owens said he'd face anybody. And who comes out but Lana? And that's when he insulted Lana, like I just said. And then Lashley comes out and he challenges Owens.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a very short match, but they're both laid out on the mat. And that's when AOP comes in and they take advantage of both of the guys being down and out. Lashley uses this time to roll out the ring and basically AOP beating down Owens, dragging him up the ramp and literally dragging him off stage. It's kind of crazy. They looked pretty powerful doing that. But I thought, so, okay, the Lana and Lashley thing, it's done at that point.
Yeah.
But no, they're back after the commercial break in the ring with Charlie. I'm like, damn it. But I want to circle back to how great Owens is because I saw this great tweet by a friend of mine at HeadlocksH on Twitter. He said, Owens is what we need in a babyface. He doesn't fall for obvious 3-on-1 jumping. He wants Lana to shut up and just wants to fight. Fantastic. What a great summary of how awesome Owens is right now.
Yeah, no, he is great. And I like this this take from John Henson. He thinks AOP and Seth Rollins could be like a new Shield.
I guess so. I mean,
like a faction.
Yeah, I guess that could work because I mean, AOP, they almost like need a mouthpiece.
You're right.
And when Seth Rollins is a heel, I love when he's a mouthpiece and when he just goes off on people. I like it a lot better than when he's a babyface. So that'd be an interesting pair up. I've never thought of that, but really good comment there.
Bubble Boy, go heading to bed. It's 4 a.m. Thanks for joining us while you could. We appreciate it. Yeah, I think putting AOP and Seth Rollins together would be good. I like AOP. You know, I thought it was kind of short-sighted for them to part ways with Drake Maverick when they first came in because they do need that mouthpiece.
They do.
So pairing them with Seth Rollins would be a good idea, I think. And so we'll see what happens. But back to your point on KO, he made the segment last night and he made it again tonight. You know, because of him, it is, you know, salvageable. And then, like you said, now Rusev is getting over. So, you know, probably the goal has been accomplished with this ridiculous storyline that we've not liked.
Yeah.
But the end of getting Rusev over has happened. So, you know, we don't like the journey, but we like the destination.
We do like the destination. And speaking of that destination, Rusev did come in when they were interviewing Lashley and Lana in ring and beat up Lashley.
Yeah.
And the crowd was going crazy saying Rusev Day. And like, it was a very quick beatdown. And then literally Rusev like scurried off through the audience. But I thought what was funny was, of course, what everyone is thinking is funny and nonsensical is that Lashley's the one who ends up getting arrested, even though Lana claimed she had put out like a restraining order against Rusev. But because he bumped one of those security guys, Lashley bumped him on the way out, they arrested him. Then Lana slaps him and says, you should be arresting Rusev. And then they arrest her. And everyone's like, this makes no sense. And Tennessee, y'all, I guess. I don't know. But it was a little ridiculous. You know, that whole first segment, and I'm including Rollins in that. So it was the Rollins, Owens, Lana, Lashley thing. That lasted like over 45 minutes of the show, of a 3-hour show. And like, you could use that time for more match quality later in the show. Like, so that didn't have to be as long. So I'm not sure like we said, we like the destination of the Lana Lashley Rusev thing, but that could have been shorter, like a lot shorter. And so could have even the Owens Rollins thing. It could have been a little quicker. And I really wanted more from Rollins. I didn't want as much from Lana and Lashley. That's the thing. Like, if you're going to do that, at least have a little bit more from Rollins. And we didn't even get like something that I thought would happen later where he would crash back in and he would really fully turn.
Right.
So that's kind of a disappointment. I thought that was going to be the cherry on top of Raw. I thought that was going to be the saving grace, and it did not happen.
No, it's like Rollins and Becky had date night in Nashville, and so Rollins just had a quick appearance and got out of there, and they went out on Broadway, and because Becky wasn't even on the show. So.
Yeah, that was very surprising. But after all of that Bobby and Lana stuff, then we finally get a match with McIntyre and Tozawa. And it was a decent match, but it was somewhat quick. But, I mean, Tozawa really made McIntyre look really good. Not that he can't look good on his own.
No, I mean, Tozawa's he's gotten some time here. He was on Raw a couple weeks ago. He was on NXT against Rush. I did that again. Rush.
Leo Rush. Ring of Honor on the brain.
I guess so. Leo Rush. And then going against McIntyre now. He hasn't won any of those matches, but he's getting some time. I like Tozawa, but obviously this was to show the dominance of Drew McIntyre. And I think McIntyre is going to get some sort of a title push here in the not too distant future, maybe going after that United States title.
Obviously, it seems like they are definitely giving him a push, but it's seemed like that for a long time. Like, will they really finally pull the trigger and he's going to have a title and everything? We'll have to see, but he's looking pretty prominent right now, and like they're behind him. He's getting a lot of time, that's for sure.
He's always been one of Vince's favorites. Remember,
I know
back in the day, Vince was proclaiming this guy was going to be the next star, and it just never really happened. And then, of course, he got injured.
Yes.
So, maybe this is going to be his time to be, because he is really good.
He is, but like, there could be more of a personality. He is better when he's kind of like heelish, like he's being, but still not my favorite.
I'm drawing a blank on who he wrestled a couple weeks ago, and I remember saying it was such a fantastic match.
Yeah, I know. You told me that. I can't remember either.
That may have been against Kevin Owens, actually.
Really?
I can't remember.
The one where you said they killed themselves and then they cut away? That's not no, that was a different match.
Yeah, no, I think that was it. Where they
the Triple H thing at the end?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so
it wasn't even a few weeks, that was like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. It all blends.
That was recently.
With this much wrestling, it all blends together. So yeah, I like Drew McIntyre a lot, and he actually seems to be getting a little better on the mic. So I think he's a viable contender and viable to get some TV time and a championship push. And
tonight's Claymore kick looked really powerful and effective, especially with the way Tozawa sold it with like a full flip and everything. So that looked really, really good, which helped, of course, McIntyre look really strong and dominant, of course. But what happened afterwards, I'm not the hugest fan of, because it was kind of silly and convoluted. Just we have all these people coming down to the ring, but first McIntyre's talking about Randy Orton and challenges him. So the first person to come down is Randy Orton, and they have like a face-to-face talk. How we got him to come down was McIntyre said, "What you did last week, I can describe in 3 words: stupid, stupid, stupid." And of course, Randy Orton said that months ago, right?
Yeah, when he was going against Kofi.
Yeah, a while ago. So it was like he was mocking what Randy Orton once said a long time ago, and that's what got Orton to come down to the ring. They had a face-to-face, as I said. What I did like was McIntyre, and it seemed like this was on the fly. "Look at me, damn it." Every time Randy Orton looked away, multiple times he was like, "You better look at me."
Right.
That was, I think, not scripted. It seemed like it was organic, and that was the part I liked the most, to be honest with you, because it just felt so natural. Then, of course, the OC comes out and interrupts, and AJ talks about how, Randy Orton ruins lives, and he ruined AJ's life. He's the reason he lost the title and all this and that. And so then they go into the ring and they're attacking, but then more people come out and it just becomes so nonsensical. Then we've got Ricochet, Humberto, and Mysterio all coming down, right?
What was silly about that was that Ricochet and Randy Orton have seemed to have something brewing that they've kind of been setting up for a couple weeks, and then then suddenly Ricochet's helping him, and then Mysterio and Humberto, and then after the break, Orton's like, I appreciate the help, but I didn't need your help kind of thing.
Yeah, which was kind of silly.
But so that's what ended up setting up the 6-man tag at the end of the show.
But I thought that 6-man tag was just kind of like thrown together just so quickly. Even with this as the reason behind it, it just felt really weak of a reason to have a match. It's like you have a 3-hour show. There can be more compelling reasons for a main event match, you know? Especially so close to TLC, as we referenced earlier. They could have done a match that's leading into that, which I guess this could be in a way, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we could be seeing AJ versus Orton at TLC, I suppose. And that didn't even, if that's the case, Jeez, you're sure coughing.
Yeah, I'm going to go grab a cough drop.
Tonight. I don't know what's going on with Paul. He's dying.
Because I've been talking all day.
Maybe it's because Raw was not that good today and he can't handle it. He's going to pass away from the coughs. But anyway, so I just think that at the end, Randy Orton coming and attacking AJ, even if that's building to TLC, it's like so little of a thing to build off of. And it's so close to happening. The pay-per-view is right around the corner. So really, I'm just surprised at the lack of anything going on and any developments right now for that show.
Let's hit a couple more comments. Ben Michelle, or Michael, I assume it's Michelle though. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. What was the point of Sunday, so-called pay-per-view? I assume he's referring to the Starrcade.
Yeah. That was kind of pointless.
That was I get that it's a glorified house show, but that was a complete waste of time, in my opinion. And I've seen some people say, you know, that maybe they should put the Starrcade brand name with NXT or something and make it one of the, if they want to preserve the brand name of Starrcade. But yeah, last night was pointless.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching, I was like, why are we watching this? Like, we watched live because we thought there might be something to tweet about or to talk about or something big that happened. And literally, we got more of Lana and Lashley for a lot of it as well. And that continued on Raw tonight. So it just felt like same old, same old. And they place so much emphasis on the name Starrcade. And yet I felt like it was such an afterthought and almost like kind of like an embarrassment to use that name for just a throwaway show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rest of the show could have been great for all I know, but the televised part, it's like, if you want to honor that name, make it a big deal. Make the show a huge deal. Don't just do it, you know, halfway, which is what I feel like they're doing. They're just doing it halfway just to use the name just because they can.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, even Cody Rhodes tweeted about how he was very introspective on Sunday because he realized it was Starrcade and how much of an effect Dusty Rhodes has had on the business in a positive way and how he created ideas and events that lasted. And so that was such a powerful tweet from Cody. And just to see the event later be kind of like nothing is kind of a disappointment.
And if you did tie it with NXT, you know, you've got the natural tie-in with Dusty because he worked in NXT. So, and
so many people there love him and talk about how fondly they remember him and how much he meant to their careers and their development in NXT. So like the meaning, like you said, would be there. And I know they have like the classic already, but like this would just be another thing that they could talk about. Like,
or you could have the Dusty Rhodes Classic end at Starrcade.
That's true.
You know, switch it. You know, do that.
That's a great idea. That would really tie it all together.
Some other comments. Dave Pazewski agrees. He doesn't understand why those guys were helping Randy Orton.
Yeah, it's like there was hardly any reason. It was a flimsy reason.
Zach Iman wants to know, it's way too early, but who are your favorites for the Royal Rumble?
Oh my God, I have no idea. That's so far ahead.
It feels
like.
It is. If Samoa Joe is healthy, I'd like to see him be in that position. I'd love to see Ricochet get that chance.
Wow.
But yeah, that's way off. They're gonna switch brands about 15 more times, and who knows what else.
I've given up on Sami Zayn ever being like a wrestler again, or because he's one of my favorites ever. Like he's in my top 5 wrestlers, and he could be so much more than what he is. I love him as a mouthpiece too. Actually, he's really, really gelled with that role of, especially with Nakamura. I love the hardcore dancing that he does when Nakamura comes down, but like how cool would it be, how great of an underdog story if he was a face and he won the Rumble. But I know it's not going to happen. I know it's a ridiculous thing to say, but a girl can dream, right?
Ben weighed back in. It's actually pronounced Michiel. So thank you, Ben. And he agrees that NXT should take the Starrcade name just like they did with War Games.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. More sense than just having it be a random house show that they don't even show the whole thing.
Right.
What is the point of broadcasting the final hour?
I don't even think it was the final hour. I think it was just in the middle of the show.
Oh, it wasn't the final?
I don't think so. I think it was just the middle part of the show.
That's so random and weird.
Because I know they had Strowman versus Bray Wyatt.
You're right. Why would it end at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock? You're right. That might have to be the middle or even maybe the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is really nonsensical. But like you said, you even mentioned maybe they want to use that main event for TV, for actual TV.
Yeah.
And not just a WWE Network thing.
That's true too. But yeah, I'd like to see them do better with the Starrcade name. That's for sure.
So after we have the Lashley, Lana, Owens, Rollins, then, McIntyre, Orton, and all those other guys, all those interactions, we're an hour and like 7 minutes into the show, and all that's happened are 2 quick matches and mostly talking segments and a quick beatdown. So what has there really been in an hour? I mean, it sounds long from like how I'm recapping it in a long way, but like that's not a lot of stuff to happen in an hour. It's mostly just talking it. And this is a wrestling show that's 3 hours.
Right.
That's the thing. If it was SmackDown, then I would understand some talking segments and some quick matches, but you've got a 3 hour show. You need to kill time. Do it with matches. These guys can go.
Yeah.
Utilize your roster, which tons of people are left off of TV every week. If you're going to have a random match, use one of the guys in the back who isn't getting a lot of time but is really good.
Yeah, or just, just have longer matches. Have a 20-minute match. Every hour should have a match that goes at least 20 minutes. You can have a couple of squash matches if you want, and then, some talking segments, and that's, 42 minutes or 43 minutes of content or whatever it is in an hour. So
yeah, and they had another quick match after all that stuff I just described. It was Tony Nese versus Alistair Black. Of course, Alistair Black got the win, looking dominant again. And it was quicker than I thought it would be. It was a decent match, but just too quick. And that was the theme of the whole night, really. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but that's literally the theme of the entire episode of Raw.
Speaking of Alistair Black, Ben Michiel says he wants Alistair Black to win the Royal Rumble and face The Fiend at WrestleMania.
That would be incredible. What a great match. 2 eerie characters facing against each other. Wow, that's a great idea, Ben. And I know my friend Dave watching would like that too, because Alistair's his favorite. And even Dave thought that the Alistair Black match was too quick. Alistair is his favorite wrestler, but he said he's more than just his finishing move. And it's like that's all they're trying to get over right now.
Right.
Is like his finisher.
Mm-hmm.
And also we have to note, speaking of his finisher, Jerry Lawler called it Black Magic instead of Black Mass. That's just one of the flubs that Jerry had tonight. Much like our criticisms of JR, it's just like sometimes they don't fit the product. I know you have some criticisms about Lawler.
Look, I love the King. He cracks me up. He's always one of my favorites. I hope he's around for a long time on WWE programming. But I don't like it's always been this way, but it seems more so. He's more worried about forcing in his jokes, and the whole gimmick of him not knowing who these guys are that are coming up from 205 Live or NXT. I'm not sure that's the best way to get these guys over, is to act like you don't know who they are.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a detriment to the wrestlers, the new guys, that it kind of hurts them when a legend doesn't know who they are, and it makes it so obvious on air.
Look, JR and the King were fantastic together. I love both of them, but just like we say with AEW that JR doesn't really fit at times with the product. I think you can feel the same way about the King being on the show. I mean, look, you'd be fine with Vic Joseph and Samoa Joe up there. I think it'd be great.
I'd be fine with a one-man band like Joey Styles with just Samoa Joe.
Yeah, well,
I'd be fine with that, because Joe had some great lines throughout the night and really great observations and stuff.
John Hinson, first time checking out the show, says he loves it. I'm glad you're with us.
Thank you.
He also wants to know what we think about AEW. We'll give you a thumbnail here, but make sure you watch us on Wednesday after Dynamite, and we'll tell you more about what we think.
A thumbnail. That's just such a weird word. I guess like a tidbit of what we think. A small.
thumbnail version.
Survey.
The thumbnail version of something. We love AEW. I think our only major criticism is that they haven't done a good enough job introducing the mainstream, not us. We know who they are, but the mainstream to some of these people that aren't household names. But the product has been great.
Yeah, and our other big criticism is JR's commentary. Right. Much like we just criticized Lawler, we're pretty fair about that. And in fact, like, I do criticize AEW quite a bit. I know online there's a big kind of division between AEW fans and WWE fans. I think you can like both, and I think you can criticize both, and that's what we do. When one is good, we praise it. When one is bad, we praise it. And we do that, I think, in equal measure. And I'm really proud of that because not everyone is like that in this day and age when they're talking about wrestling. They're not always fair. Or even when they're liking a product and only talking about that one product, sometimes they don't criticize it at all. And that's the thing. I criticize both openly.
No, every Wednesday we watch both AEW and NXT. We even watched NXT live last week. Of course, now that we're going to have you doing a live AEW review every Wednesday, obviously we'll be watching AEW first every week, but we love both, or at least I love both equally.
I got to say, I'll be completely honest. I do like both, but I do lean towards like non-Raw stuff. Like SmackDown I actually really enjoyed, but like
no, but I meant AEW versus NXT.
Oh, I love both AEW versus NXT, but if we're talking about like AEW, WWE, I probably would lean towards more AEW than WWE, but I would lean towards NXT over WWE main roster even. It's just the thing, like main roster WWE sometimes can be hard to watch because of shows like tonight. Only because like they have the wrestlers, which is what is frustrating. They might have the most stacked roster ever right now out of any promotion. That includes AEW. And I love the Bucks. The Bucks would really add to WWE, but I'm glad they're doing what they're doing. But WWE, besides that, has a really stacked roster, but they don't give them the time, though, and that's what's frustrating.
Ben wants to know where we're from. We're based down here in New Orleans, Louisiana. So what part of Canada are you from? Let us know. Zach says he feels it's needed to have the veteran commentators on the show like Jerry and Jim to help out the young guys like Vic and Excalibur. I disagree with you there because Excalibur is an accomplished announcer. He's been doing PWG for 10 years or so, however long PWG's been around.
A really long time.
And I think he's one of the best in the business.
It's longer than 10 years.
Yeah, so
it's way longer than 10 years.
Vic is a young guy. I agree with you there, and so Jerry probably fits there a little bit. But in the case of Excalibur, I disagree with you because Excalibur's awesome.
And that's the thing, like a PWG, which is the promotion that Excalibur actually still works for, as well as AEW, that flies under their radar a lot. So many guys in NXT right now, and even in AEW, have come from PWG. And in fact, if you go to the same YouTube channel, WrestlingNewsCo's YouTube channel, you'll see my interview with a lot of people from Starrcade, AEW's, convention. And I asked a lot of them about PWG because there's so much flavor and style that I feel comes from PWG in AEW, but also in NXT because Riddle went through PWG, Keith Lee, so many people, like Roderick Strong. We just watched a match from 2009 with Roderick Strong from PWG, and he looks completely different, and it's awesome.
But also on the AEW side, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
I mean, the list of wrestlers that came through PWG is awesome. And Excalibur is awesome. And you were talking about your interviews. You didn't even say you interviewed Excalibur.
I did interview Excalibur. We talked PWG. We talked what it was like to work with, JR and Tony. And he said it was awesome because they're legends. But, sometimes I feel like JR almost takes some jabs at Excalibur, like, not like outright, but like I feel like sometimes he'll be like, why don't you just say this move in English, or why don't you just do this or that? And it comes off as like it's serious, but I'm sure it's a joke. But yeah, Excalibur, I really love him, and he's got a really long, accomplished career. And his pipes, I mean, the way his voice sounds.
Let's go back to some more of what happened on Raw tonight. Pick back up.
So we just talked about Tony Nese and Alistair Black, how that was really quick. Alistair Black getting the win. Then we move on to another match. Again, I think it was quick. Andrade versus Eric Young. And I got to say, since I haven't watched Raw in a long time, fully and live, I didn't even know this was Eric Young. I had to compare it with an old picture to see that his tattoo matched. He looked like a different person. One, he looked like Bob Holly, hardcore Holly. And I was like, who is that? And I look closer, they say Eric Young. I'm like, no effing way. It's not just that he's bald and his beard's gone. It's like the gear, like his vest isn't there. It's very different. And I think he really, really, really has it bad being away from Sanity. The other guys, you even mentioned this, the other guys have done okay for themselves. The other members that broke away.
Yeah, you've got Wolf now in Imperium, which is another 4-person group. Killian Dane's getting a push in NXT, and obviously Nikki Cross. And unfortunately, it feels like Eric Young's kind of been left in by the wayside, and he's wrestling matches where, he's a good competitor, but he's gonna lose to whoever, in this case, Andrade.
Yeah, he lost. And that's the thing. The ironic part is he was the leader of Sanity. And that faction was great. I can't believe they even broke it up. I mean, Nikki Cross is doing well paired with Alexa, and that's going to be a great eventual heel turn by Alexa on Nikki. So I'm excited for that. But at the same time, it's like I liked her and Sanity as well.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a great faction. I miss it quite a bit, I gotta say. But moving past that, we saw No Way Jose randomly backstage. Turns out the reason we saw him is because he ended up actually having a match. But it was nothing more than like a squash match, basically. And in fact, it was against Eric Rowan, who we had another segment with him talking to a cage. We don't know what's in the cage.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it's going to end up being, because it has been fun. It is a little weird that we see him from the animal's perspective talking into the cage. Like, it feels like we should be seeing...
We're the animals.
Yeah.
No, humanity's in the cage. That's right. What it is. It's a big philosophical
big metaphor, yeah.
thing. Yeah.
It feels like he should be on the side, and we see him peeking into the cage talking to the animal, but we don't know what it is, rather than we are the animal. Yeah,
it is kind of odd. Like I just said, it's like they're trying to say some kind of deeper meaning to this whole thing, the way they are shooting it or something. But and it's weird hearing Rowan talk so much too.
Yeah.
Because he never used to do that. So I was like, this is weird. Like, all of this is strange to me. Take a few weeks or a few short months away from Raw and you're like totally lost, apparently.
Yeah, like, again, it's not that you weren't watching Raw.
I wasn't watching the full thing.
Right,
live.
exactly.
That's the thing. I was just watching the highlights, which didn't include Rowan talking to a cage for a long time or at all.
Right. Then one of the matches of the night was the 2-on-1 handicap match, the Kabuki Warriors against Charlotte. I thought a really good match, really, really good spots throughout this match. And, look, Charlotte's one of the best, and so is Asuka, and so is Kairi Sane. So you knew it was going to be good. It
was good, and it was one of the longest matches of the night, and I'm glad because it was the only women's match, so at least it was kind of longer. And we needed a long match on the show, period. So I'm glad at least we got one before the main event that had some depth to it. But I will say, one criticism that I've read online, other people are saying, which I didn't think about it until I saw them say it, but a lot of my friends online saying, like, it was a great match and all, and it was fun, but at the same time, you had Charlotte really taking the Kabuki Warriors to their limits, and it's 2 against 1. So yes, it really makes Charlotte look strong, but at the same time, doesn't it a little bit make them look weak, and they're champs?
Well, I was worried that they were going to have Charlotte win, and then I would have said the exact same thing. I was thinking that you can't have your tag team champs lose to one person. So yeah, I agree with that. I like that Charlotte gets a chance to do what she does, but the Kabuki Warriors are your tag team champs. They had to win that match.
I mean, yeah, you couldn't have Charlotte take the belts as a single person. That was crazy. That would be crazy. But it at least was a good match. But yeah, like the psychology behind it in terms of like who is really dominant kind of was puzzling a little bit in terms of it being 2-on-1. But I will say, I want to mention Charlotte Chair, that sign in the audience, that made me laugh. And in fact, I even said it got the biggest pop from me all night. So that was like one of the most exciting things to me was Charlotte Chair sign. And it was literally her face on a chair. And I don't know why it was so great to me, but whatever. Easily amused.
Josh Robinson has joined us. Thanks for joining us. And
thanks, Josh. Hey.
John Henson believes that they will get the Wyatt family together again. I wouldn't be surprised by that. And Dave Pozevsky says Charlotte was a tank in that match. I was scared she was going to win.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, she was super dominant.
Yeah. Even at the end, it took a blind tag from Kairi Sane, and Charlotte put the figure 8 on Asuka, but Sane dropped the insane elbow, which looked awesome. And the Kabuki Warriors get the win, and no mist for this match too. So
I like the mist.
I do like the mist.
You can't use it all the time, I guess, because
yeah,
it's kind of a big to do, I suppose. I don't know the real reasoning behind it, but yeah, no mist. But I kind of liked that.
No, I'm fine with that too.
But I like the mist as well. So I don't know. I'm torn. I like it and I don't like it. I don't know. Either way, I'm cool with it. Then we've got the Viking Raiders taking on some local guys, and it was a quick match, of course, because it was almost like a literal squash match. Yeah. I really love the Viking Raiders, so it's good to see them being so dominant. But at the same time, like, you could have them have a real long match with anybody and still let them win.
Yeah,
they should be dominant against real contenders.
I mean, hopefully at the pay-per-view, at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, maybe they're going to go against the OC or something like that, especially since the OC won that tournament in Saudi Arabia. Maybe they'll have some sort of tables match or something like that. And remember, the Viking Raiders were the only winners from Raw during Survivor Series. They won the tag team triple threat. So they're definitely getting a push. Of course, that was also on the pre-show, I think, too. So
no wonder. I was going to say, I forgot about that because you watched the pre-show without me that day because I was at work.
Right.
I was like, I don't remember that. No wonder I don't remember it. Wasn't home. But yeah, Viking Raiders, they're incredible. Just want to see longer stuff.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with a squash, though, every now and then. And let's go to our main event, of course. We had the OC versus Humberto, Mysterio, and Ricochet. And they called themselves the Future and the Legend. I don't know if that was like a makeshift name or just a throwaway phrase that they said, but that's what they said leading into the match when they were describing themselves. And again, I made a note in my notes. I wrote down, so far, no build at all for TLC. Yet, as I teased earlier, I think we're going to get a little bit of, I think what happened at the very end was the build, which was Randy Orton coming in and RKOing AJ Styles.
Yeah. I thought this was a pretty good match. Obviously, some cool spots when you've got Ricochet involved, when you've got Humberto Carrillo. Even the finish with Ricochet attempting the Hurricane Run off the top
and turn it into a Styles clash.
So I thought that was pretty good. But again, that and the women's match was really the only decent matches to me.
You know what sucks? I almost wore this shirt because I'm wearing a wrestling Christmas shirt. It's got like candy canes. It says Strong Style. Something about the North Pole. I can't read it, but I almost wore my Randy Orton RKOing a snowman shirt, and it says RKO out of Snowhere. Damn it, I didn't wear it. It would have been so appropriate tonight to wear that shirt, but I didn't know that he was going to RKO AJ at the end.
True.
But I do have that shirt, and I'll be wearing it sometime in December for Christmas.
Some more comments coming in. Josh Robinson thought the finish was sick to that Charlotte Kabuki Warriors match. I think... he was asking, have they lost yet on Raw? I don't know if he's talking about the Kabuki Warriors or if he was talking about Viking Raiders, because I think he's talking about the Viking Raiders, or as John Henson appropriately said, War Machine.
Yeah.
They will always be War Machine.
They'll always be War Machine to me, at least. I really miss that name.
Okay, so he did clarify. No, they have not lost on Raw. Their only loss came in that tournament in Saudi Arabia to the OC.
Yeah, and they've got the trophy now.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they'll square off the pay-per-view.
I guess that makes sense. More coughing.
Yeah.
Tables, ladders, and coughs. That would be in the pay-per-view.
That happens when you've been talking all day.
Yeah, sorry. You did do a lot of interviews and stuff. But overall, let's talk about and wrap up our thoughts on Raw. Like I said in the beginning, I was kind of disappointed. I couldn't believe that this was the first live Raw I was watching in a long time, and it unfolded like it did. I was like, no, I couldn't have been like an awesome Raw. Like, I really enjoyed, like I said many times on the show, SmackDown was pretty good.
Yeah.
On Friday. At least it had some returns, it had some surprises, and it had some matches too.
Yep. I thought it was pretty bad. I thought it was, again, one of the worst Raws of the year, in my opinion, because again, if you weren't with us at the beginning, I defended even some of those Raws where people were like, I'm done watching Raw, because there were at least, a few good matches in there, or, there'd be a star on the rise that they'd give some time to. But now it's just talk. And no, I'm not a fan. And, I'm with Ben here too. the jobber thing getting old. We need to come up with better writers because there does need to be some more matches of substance. They can't all be squash matches. I know that was popular back in the 80s where the show was nothing but squash matches.
Things are quite different.
Things are a little different now. Yeah.
So we definitely need some variety. But it's just next week could turn around and be great. But maybe that's just the
optimist in you.
I'm not really optimistic usually, so I can't really say that. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to be optimistic about this because it's going to be quite a change for me watching Raw live every week. I haven't done that in years, so it'll be interesting to see what I think every week. If you guys know if it's a positive review in the future, you're gonna know that it was a good show.
That's right.
Because I don't just give positive reviews out of nowhere. And like a RKO out of nowhere.
And again, don't forget Kelsi will be along on Wednesday with an AEW Dynamite review. I may or may not pop in. We'll see on that.
Pop in, come on, yeah.
We'll see.
It's better with two people.
And we want to remind you to make sure you check out our podcast on all the audio platforms, Spreaker and whatnot, but now on Wrestling News Co.'s YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the video version, that's where you can find us from now on. It
just dropped yesterday, so it's on the YouTube channel right now. The one that you're watching now, go to the channel. You'll see the podcast. It's an hour and a half long, and we talk Survivor Series, TakeOver. We talk Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite. We even talk about Matt Hardy Free the Delete. We talk about ROH and Kelly Klein. And this coming week, we're going to be talking about PWG. We'll be talking about a specific match from 2009, PWG DDT4, Kenny Omega and Chuck Taylor versus the Young Bucks.
Yep, and the reason we went to that is because of your interview with Excalibur, and he said it was his favorite match, and we'll hear a little from Excalibur about that. Let's go to some more comments before we wrap things up, or questions or anything else. Is it bad that I find main event more entertaining, says Ben? Well, there are times where it is more entertaining.
At least probably have some quality to them. I don't know.
Zach says that you should participate in a cough drops on a pole match.
Yes. Great.
Jason weighs in, says the Kabuki Warriors versus Charlotte match felt like it hurt the Kabuki Warriors, considering it took them so long to beat Charlotte, who almost won.
Yeah, I know. And she's just one person against two people who are the champs. It just logically, it doesn't make sense. I know Charlotte's a dominant champion and she's got that pedigree behind her, especially like kayfabe pedigree. But it still hurts the Kabuki Warriors in the end, no matter if Charlotte's a billion-time champion or not. It's there's still two people against one. It's ridiculous, kind of.
Yep.
I still enjoyed the match, though, I will say. So I'm not trying to go too harsh. It's just that it kind of defied logic a tiny bit.
Yep, I agree. Dave says smash the like button. Josh says he's
the like
just
button, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you said light. Like, I was going to say it's the like button.
Josh says he just subscribed, and John wants to know the name on YouTube. Obviously, you have your own channel. So
I have my own channel, which is Super Kicking It with Kelsi, Kelsi. But sub to this channel that you're watching right now, because I'm going to be doing live videos every week here on this channel. And I also have content on my own channel. So sub to both channels if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And find us on Twitter. I'm at Super Kicking It. That's with the G, SuperKickingit. And you are at
PBoron88, PBORON88. And of course, our podcast Twitter is at Two Face Pod.
Yep. And also make sure you follow Wrestling News at WrestlingNewsCo, and that's co with a C-O, on Twitter, because I'll be tweeting from that account as well. I'll be doing some polls. I know I kind of planned very soon. I want to do polls about the best heels in wrestling right now and who people think are the best heels, like a little poll, and see who comes out victorious. And also I want to do a poll about best tag teams kind of soon, because we've been teasing that we want to do a whole thing on our podcast about that, where we rank our favorite tag teams of today. That will be kind of a large undertaking, but not as much as our 50 greatest wrestlers today.
Right. So
50 favorite, I should say, not greatest.
Yeah, 50 favorite.
It's subjective. So we're going to do that on our podcast soon, and I'll have tweets about it on Wrestling News Co. about just polls.
Yeah, absolutely, and that will turn into some other some content on the Wrestling News Co. YouTube channel as well. Josh says you're killing it. Keep up the great content.
Thanks,
thank
Josh.
You, Josh.
Appreciate it.
And Ben says he's going to. He thanks us for answering all this stuff and looks forward to all of our our stuff. So
cheers. Yes. Thanks so much. And thank you guys for sticking with us the entire review. We're going to have another review, like we said, on Wednesday after AEW Dynamite. And again, be with us here next Monday too, after Raw, because I'll be doing the same thing. Same time, same channel. So check it out. And thanks again, guys. But for tonight, that's it for us. That's the finish. See you later, guys.